Welcome to Journeys of Empowerment. I'm Michiel Sutjetreit. This is a space for slowing down and paying attention to what is changing beneath the surface. Through honest conversations with aspiring, impact-driven female founders, we explore the moments that reshape us, the questions that won't go away, and the choices that quietly alter the direction of a life. Sometimes the path that once felt right begins to feel a little too small, and something quieter but more honest asks to be trusted. These conversations live in that space. What if the thing we've been searching for in other places has been waiting quietly within us all along? Sometimes life changes around us so many times that we forget to stop and ask who we are becoming through it all. In this episode, I sat down with Nataliya Volosovych, founder of the profile studio NL, photographer, visual storyteller, and someone whose life has been shaped by reinvention, reflection, and the desire to help others feel truly seen. We explored what it was growing up in Ukraine during the time of uncertainty, navigating the challenges of immigration and cultural change, and rebuilding life across different countries and identities. We talked about motherhood, boundaries, people-pleasing, and the difficult conversations that can transform relationships. We also reflected on how photography became more than a profession for Nataliya. It became a way of creating connection, presence, and visibility for others. She said it without any hesitation. If you don't love yourself in all the ways you are, how can you truly love somebody else? This matters. The answers are often already there. We just need to slow down enough to hear them. Listening to Nataliya reminded me that resilience is not only found in adapting to change. Sometimes it's found in softening, paying attention, and allowing yourself to be seen for who you truly are. Let's take a breath and begin. Nataliya, welcome to Journeys of Empowerment.
Thank you very much, Michiel, for having me. It's a great pleasure.
And it was interesting because we went through some preparation I did for our conversation, and then right away it's always an interesting question to ask is to envision the future, and by asking and inviting you on the question, who do you aspire to become?
That's a very profound question, I would say, because in everyday routine sometimes we sort of lose that big vision.
Yeah.
We're coping, we are dealing with different things that life is throwing at us. And sometimes we forget what was the big purpose when you started something. My path was very winding to where I am, and in profession where I am, and as a woman where I am today. I think I envision myself. How far along are we going in the future?
Well, as far as you want to take us.
I envision myself an old, very happy lady, surrounded by the family, grandchildren, if my kids will decide to go that way, who feels very fulfilled with what I did, and hopefully even, because I really hope that my profession will allow me to stay with the camera in my hands up until the last moment of my life, because it's almost an attachment and continuation of me. And maybe I will not be doing the location shoots, but maybe I will doing it a very comfortable studio shoots, but something that I can continue working, not because it's necessary, but because I really love what I'm doing. And I'm envisioning myself looking back from that chair with a old granny, looking back at what I did. I really hope that I will be able to create an environment, hopefully physical, where it would be imagined as a art or creative center.
Wow.
Where not only my studio will be present, but also will be place for other creatives. Because I feel today we have a big emphasis on business and entrepreneurs which are doing more, I don't want to say office job, but something that requires computer, desk, and chair. But there are a lot of businesses out there and creatives who bring a lot of meaning to this life that are they don't have a possibility to have a studio space for I don't know, for knitting or sewing or singing.
For their creative expression.
Yeah, or giving piano lessons or whatever that is. Very often it's out of the house, out of some kind of, random arrangement where people combine it. And I want to create a space where people can come and just be there. And together as a creative force, also maybe do some interesting collaborations or something like that. So that's one I know, I don't know, it just came to me at some point, and I don't know if it's a stupid dream in a way, but I don't care. I started talking about it recently very out loud, hoping that some right ears will hear me and maybe will join me in this collaboration, or something will come true and we will start moving into this direction.
Wow. First of all, I want to thank you for sharing, and also what a beautiful dream and visioning of the future.
Thank you. I hope I will be able to live till all days.
Oh, now let's hope I will hope that too. And there's one thing I would love to reflect a little on. If I was sharing this beautiful dream, would you have described it as a stupid dream?
No, but I'm self-critical of myself,
Okay.
I have a big disclaimer
I got
there. Of course not. I will empower you, and I will uplift you and say, wow, that's a really amazing thing. But, I'm still, we shared a little bit before we entered the studio. You said, so many people signed up, and there is a line of people who wants to be on the podcast, and you cannot imagine it's all because of you as well as a big factor, right? I have a little bit of the same. I cannot believe that people come to I kind of already overcame that. I believe that people come to me, to my studio, because they really want to be photographed specifically by me. I have sometimes people driving from another country to come, or flying from another, country, which is an island, to come specifically every year to be photographed by me. And I'm really humbled in that and very thankful. Now I start doing the business meetings, and every time when people buy tickets and come, before the meeting I was like, wow, people really want to come and listen to what I have to say. And it's almost like, wow, really? Do I have information that, that they really want to learn from me? So it's a little bit of those steps in the beginning of a new phase. And yes, I do have this dream, but I still cannot believe that I'm even openly talking about it. It's really first months that I'm so open about it.
Well, and now it's recorded.
I know. Now I don't have it.
Now you can listen it. Yeah, but it's beautiful, and thank you. And I believe, and I think that we all have a certain kind of inner critic. And on the other hand, what if we, let's say, embrace and allow who we are in all our creative and aspirations and whatever, and just being instead of all doing, and allow ourselves to be us and move in the direction we love to move, right? And so thank you. It's a beautiful dream, and I truly hope that you will experience it as the same one day.
Thank you so much. I really hope as well.
So the central theme we had a conversation about, and we had in the preparations, and we found our central theme, which helps us, but also the listener, hopefully, to travel through this conversation, and also sometimes to come back to that central theme, is finding purpose through reinvention. And while all four words are very clear, finding purpose through reinvention, there's one word is a very big word. Purpose is also a big word. But what is your interpretation about reinvention? Before we dive into our conversation, a deep dive and your journey, what is your interpretation of reinvention?
I think for me, reinvention is to finding inner strength and finding inner purpose. And adapting it to the situation that you are in. Very often we don't control it, and I refer to myself an ex-control freak.
An ex-control freak.
Yes, because I learned through my children, they were my greatest teachers, how to let it go and really start opening up to possibilities that not everything will be perfect and not everything is under my control in my life. And so when you sort of put yourself on the side road and start observing what is happening around, you start listening more to yourself, you connect more to yourself. And even if the environment is throwing you a curveball, and really putting you in a difficult situation, whatever that is, or very beautiful situation, which can also create some difficulties, like fame, big money, all of that. I'm not saying that I experienced that yet, but I would imagine. I know some people who couldn't cope with that. So it's not only about difficulties, it's also about, beauty, so to say, of this life. And so for me, reinvention is when you kind of go within and try to figure out what is it that is driving you through all of this, interesting external things, and you don't lose that path, you don't lose that purpose. I would say that.
Yeah, it's all about your interpretation, and it helps us also a little bit. It also helps us a little bit about understand your view on reinvention, but also a little bit on your worldview, how you look through your lens and through the world, right? So
absolutely.
There's an interesting question came up in our conversation we had. Who am I when the path I expected disappears? Wow. Who am I when the path I expected disappeared? Where does that come from, and in what point of life was it?
I think it was asked multiple times, an internal question. External as well, to some extent, to my parents when I was finishing school. We all face with it. What's next? You have your story, right, with that. My story was developing during the time when it's in a post-Soviet era, Ukraine, which is trying to get on its feet, become an independent state, rebuild itself. So economy is up and down, we don't understand what's next. You are actually the age of my brother. And that generation was sort of really lost in this, turbulence of that historical moment, I would say. And for me, 6 years later, sort of, it's a bit of an echo, but of the same. So it was very hard. It was one of the first questions, like, what am I doing next? Where am I good at? How will I earn? Because I'm quite independent person by the way of thinking and being in life. And for me, it was a big question, like, how will I earn my bread and water, so to say? Where do I go next? I know I cannot rely and be, I don't want to say burden to my parents, but I want to grow up and be independent. And how do I do it? And I know it's not part of that, but I really want to praise the Netherlands in the part of the education system where kids are shown from quite early age what kind of professions are out there. Parents are very much engaged. At least it was with my kids like that, We were asked to come in and share, especially those with the unusual professions like mine. Kids were super excited, to hear my presentation in group 4 or 5 or something like this, when I was talking about how it is to be a photographer. But they have ideas of, which direction they can take. And there is also freedom here because of the beautiful stability. I mean, I know we all complain, that economy is up and down. But in comparison to other countries, the Netherlands is amazingly stable for many, many years. And that stability gives you freedom as a person who grows up here or come and works here, especially the ones who grow up here, to choose what is really your passion, not what is economically sensible for you going forward in your life. So that was one of the first questions around my end of high school, pre that, and what am I doing next, how it is. And I cannot say that I went by my passion. I went by what I can do and what demand is out there. And then this question would reappear multiple times at the moments where my life will take a turn.
Sort of a turning point or an inflection point. And, let's go all the way back to early childhood.
You grew up.
Here we go. So you grew up in Ukrainian.
I was born in the country that doesn't exist anymore.
No.
I was born in Soviet Union, Republic of Ukraine. Or Ukrainian Soviet Republic, whatever. Yeah, you would translate that into English.
And if you say that, what do you feel by that?
I feel that I'm a part of a very interesting part of the history, really. I feel, if you ask people from ex-Soviet Union, we all have maybe different opinions. I'm not romanticizing that state and that state of mind, but I know everything that came from it taught me something that actually recently I was praised a lot, but other people would mention it, and it kind of like, really, do I have it? It taught me resilience. And maybe from there, it also taught me my creative ways. So from nothing to do something. So from not having much, create a nice outfit.
Sort of resourcefulness?
Yeah. Same with my equipment, from just like few simple things that I had, a very simple camera in the beginning, just a couple of lens, make something out of it. You don't need a huge studio. You don't need a huge, whole lineup of all of the lenses in the world and all of the lighting in the world.
No, not in the beginning.
No. But funny enough, I work better when I'm in this a bit of a, minimalistic setup rather than when I have everything. Because I feel like it's just too many choices.
Yeah.
I mean, I can cope with choices. It's not a problem. But just I feel like I can be focused more and be more inventive rather than when I have everything. My family, it's, I would say, a poor, intelligence elite, if you can say that. Poor because we all were equally poor in that way. My father worked his entire life at Kiev Polytechnical University till literally his last breath. At the Department of Computer Science, which was super, super new thing way back then. And my mom was also from the same university, but she was an engineer, she went into a research institution and then went into business actually. And her path also inspired a lot of things. When I look back, I realized that she also had a big influence on what I do today and how I do it and who I am. So coming back to your question is
how does it feel when you're talking about your country of origin,
the country
and
of
then
origin,
how does it make you feel because of the transition or the change? And but also it's interesting. What I hear is that one of the beautiful things which came out of it is that it made you resilient and also resourcefulness. So, and that's also something which we will figure out, but we will discover during our conversation is some sort of silver lining through the conversation is resourcefulness also. Yeah. Resilience and resourcefulness. So, so you grew up, brothers, sisters,
I do have, I'm a third child in the family. I do have a brother who is 6 years older. He's exactly your age, and there was... in between us, the idea was to have, as my parents shared with me, to have 3 children, 2 years, all of us apart. And in the middle, there was a middle brother who unfortunately died in a very early age, a couple of months, I think he was, from something that nowadays can be very easily treated if diagnosed on time, but it was not. Unfortunately, so this huge loss was very profound on my parents, and I think on life of us as children as well. So I'm number 3, and I grew up in a family where the value of family was very, very strong. My parents they stayed together the entire life. They had rough moments, like all the couples do. I think it's impossible otherwise, but they managed to stay together. So while around me, the families of my friends were falling apart, parents were divorcing, my parents, and I'm very thankful for that, because I know from my husband, whose parents unfortunately didn't manage, and in his before he was finishing high school, I think, they got divorced, and I know that affects a lot children. Yeah. On so many levels, and it drags its feet all the way into the adulthood.
Far more than we dare to admit, and we because we tend to say, or what I hear often, but children are young and resilient.
They will adapt.
And they will adapt, that's what we hope they do. But it has a severe impact, right? So children are almost never choosing or wanting their parents to be separated.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So I'm really thankful for that to them, because I don't know how my parents, now being a mom, I don't know how they survived the loss of a child.
Oh, wow. Oh.
I know for the majority, usually people don't survive it as a couple. Like they separate. There is some kind of either blaming going on, and here it was not something between them. It was more on the medical side, but still, it's a very difficult psychological burden, I would say. And I know a lot about it, because I'm the person who likes to collect stories. Mm-hmm. And I realized it later in life, but I was always with a lot of questions. How was this and how was that? And to my grandma as well, who went through World War II. My grandpa, unfortunately, didn't make it till, I was 4 when he died because of cancer. But she was a very big, meaningful part of my life, and I was always torturing her with questions. But how was that? And when they came? And what happened afterwards? And how was your life? And how did you adapt? And so I really wanted to know. And funny enough, you probably heard that, people who went through war will especially... If you met anybody from Soviet Union, they will not talk about it, because there was a lot of consequences if you open your mouth and say something. You really may end up in jail for just being captured before, or for being in contact with, Nazis at that point, or anything like this. It was very, very rough environment. So really, like you don't talk about these things. My grandma was talking to me. She was not talking to her children, but she was talking to me. Yeah. And so I captured in my memory a lot of moments about her life and grandpa life and how it all started. For me, why is it important? Because I feel like I really want to understand my roots, and that's what is centering me in life. It's knowing where I'm coming from, who was before me, how did they cope, and this love to collect the stories also came into my business, because I always love, when I meet people, I want to know their story, not because of just nosiness and curiosity, but I think this way we learn tremendously from each other, more than we might from specialized courses or anything like this, especially if we're listening very carefully. Like, you are a wonderful listener, absolutely. And you are the one who provokes all these stories to happen and come out and being recorded and stay for eternity out there. And sorry, I turn it to you, but I want to praise you for this, because
thank you very much. It's always a humbling experience. We had briefly a talk about it before we started recording downstairs, but it's always a humbling experience when I get a compliment. But thank you very much. I appreciate it. And the funny thing is, this is a note to all my friends. If they are listening to this podcast, because
if they are listening,
if my friends,
of course they're
my
listening.
Supporters. No, but my friends always love. Michiel, you are going to start a podcast, but can you actually? Because I love to talk, really, very easily, and I'm so driven and enthusiastic, and they sometimes became curious. But how does it work? How much is your talking time then?
Yeah.
And the time of talking from your guest. Well, I can say roughly analyzing all the transcripts, it's 85% my guest and maximum 15% from my side. So I'm very proud, and that's a number I'm proud of. And
there you go.
I can put all the doubts from my friends a little bit away. But thank you very much for it. And there is so much beauty in our in our lived experience, in what we've been through, and also what I believe, and that's fascinating. Also, that's for you important in your current professional career. Is that for me, the lived experience helps me better understand the what and the why of somebody is. Why is somebody doing what she or he is doing, and why is it important? Where does it come from? And if we look to the lens all the way back to our in our journey, there are so many beautiful moments that if we pause and reflect on it, there's a sort of relationship, because life is a bumpy road, right? And we we love to see it as from a straight line from A to B in a steep curve, but it's a bumpy road. And the thing is, there's a much more alignment in our personal journey when we pause and reflect than we think and we believe, and also much more to learn also afterwards in critical moments. And that's why I paused and reflected in the beginning of our conversation and asked you, hey, but let's turn it around. If I'm telling this beautiful dream, what would have been your reaction? Mm-hmm. And that's deliberate, because I'm like, then you are quote unquote forced to think now about my perspective, and then all of a sudden the story changes, and I like, all those little micro moments. And well, for instance, the inner critic, we both agreed it's about. It's for me it resonated. It's a sort of, it helps me to be it stays safe and gives me security, and it's a safety element in it. Yeah. And on the other hand, is it still helpful when we're not we're in a safe environment? And that's the thing. It helped us until it doesn't.
Yeah, until it becomes too much, too critical, and the force that paralyzes you.
Yeah, true that. So, hey, and you shared about the loss of your brother, and for your parents was of course, and I'm happy that they survived it, both together. Do you feel also loss? How does it feel for you?
I do feel a loss to some extent, because it's funny, I feel like it was always a missing element in our family when I was growing up. It's not like we talked about it every day. I found out about it quite, not from the childhood, I would say, maybe my teens or something like this. It popped up. I think it was a visit to a graveyard, and we came, and Mom almost collapsed to her knees. On the grave, which was not even marked properly, it was in the abandoned part, sort of, like neglected part of the big. How do you call it? Like not funeral. Gosh, what is it? The
graveyard.
Graveyard. Graveyard, right? Yeah. And I asked her. I said, like, what's happening? And she explained to me that Yuri was his name. It's your brother here. And so, she didn't share much. And then over the years, little by little, and she shared with me most when she came to the Netherlands, and I was already with I think I was pregnant with my second. And we had a very extensive conversation about it. And she told me how it was, how she was accepted and not accepted by the family of my father, and all of this, how they went through it. Some part of it, of course, not in the most vivid details. I learned some after my mom passed away from her close friends, my godmother in Ukraine. And I was fascinated by her resilience, by her strength, by her, just willingness to go on. But it's sort of like a shadow over her and my father and our family in general. Because, it's influenced how I was raised, how my brother was raised, and how my mom's attention was very focused on my brother, my oldest brother, because she experienced loss and she was afraid that it will happen again. And I think in me, she saw her. I'm a female, I'm a woman. In Ukraine, a woman is almost like needs to be born with a super thick skin to go through, difficult parts
loss,
of
grief,
life
and
everything.
Yeah.
If you know a little bit of a history of Ukraine, I will not go deeply into it, but we are at the conflicts and wars and some kind of very tough times for many, many years, trying to get our independency. That means that a lot of men perish and disappear at war. That means that in our population we have an equal part of ratio of men to women. So we have more women and we have less men due to all of these historical reasons. And what happens is it creates a huge competition among women to find a man. But what it also creates, and we completely deviate. But
no, it's no problem.
But
no
it makes sense, I think, in the conversation.
It will.
That when you, as a mom, give birth to a son, you become this protective hawk who is like doing everything to make sure that the male will survive. If we will just strip over all of this, fluffy, nice, civilized ways, just looking at the survival, that's how it is. And by that, very often, it's easy for me to say because I'm outside and I grew up in a way. My adolescence happened outside of Ukraine. But looking at my even peers and my generation, my friends, my girlfriends, I see how they're bringing up their sons specifically. Everything is done for them. So in a way, they spoil them by this overprotection. You know what I mean? So it's a very interesting thing. So my mom was not an exception in this way. She was all around my brother. And I, in a way, was kind of like, I'm younger, but doesn't matter. You need to be smarter. You need to be stronger. You need to be this and this and that. So I was kind of like, left of that super...
expectations also.
Yeah, overprotected environment. Expectations are definitely there. But it was a little bit of a different share of attention and love. Let's put it this way. Yeah. So answering your question, definitely feel that loss because I think it will be different. It will be more calm. It will be more balanced. It will be more fun maybe to have 3 children, to have 2 siblings, instead of 1. So in that way, yeah, but that realization came later, I would say. Like you said, pausing, reflecting, looking back at your life and understanding what shaped you.
I truly appreciate the elaborate answer. There's so much depth in it. And why do I appreciate it? And I hope there will be listeners where it will resonate too, is that we tend and we pretend to move forward to life, and even if your brother Yuri was only a few months old, it has a severe impact. It has a severe impact, and it can even also be that it's in your implicit memory and you don't have any explicit memory about it and you can't recall it. But there is loss, there is grief, there is the body keeps the score. There is
yes, definitely. You know that book, right?
Yeah, I followed his trauma stress study postgraduate. So there's the certificate from Bessel van der Kolk, and So due to my background, I became curious, and then I really became a researcher, curiosity, and then and so on and so on. But the grief is inside of you, and it's also part of the family, and especially when it's also part of the upbringing where you have been through. So again, your resilience got challenged, and also your resourcefulness. But what was the biggest difference for you growing up, feeling that the most of the attention went to your brother? How was it for you then? Was it more freedom or more independence, or where did it lead you to? How did you grow up then?
So framing it like more independence came much later, when I realized that it was more independence in a way. But while growing up, I was fighting for attention. I was fighting for attention big time. Yeah, definitely. Because, you want to be loved, you want to be seen, you want to be listened to undividedly. We are all egoists by the nature. The question is, how do we shape and socialize it later? That's a whole different experience, right? But back then, when I was a child, first of all, I am not afraid to say that. I'm proudly wearing a badge of being an introvert. So I am the person who sometimes lives in my own head. I get my energy from quietness and rest. But at the same time, for me, it's important to be around people and to get that energy out of the gatherings, getting the deep stories and what have you, right? So yes, I was definitely fighting for attention. I was definitely trying to show that I also matter in a way. There was no any kind of, I would say, physical abuse or psychological or anything. It just happened so. And funny enough, that I found my husband, who was also out of the family of two, where he's the oldest one, and he was not the one who was getting all of the attention. So it's one of the very rare occasions, I would say. So when we met, it was just like, just like a perfect fit in a way. We're very different with him, but what we share with him is that we were given freedom this way. We were not nurtured, in a way that we were not nobody was carrying us around through life. And and we're both, in a way, we're fighting for attention at home in our childhood. So funny how we find partners sometimes, right?
Yeah, it is. Well, and I believe in synchronicity, so there's some sort of reason why you came up on each other's path, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Because I believe you are very happy that you've met him.
Absolutely,
you briefly shared in the podcast, in the pre-video call. Hey, and so while growing up, what did you study? What did you, and because now you're a photographer, but it's an interesting trajectory. How did you start photography? No, you didn't start with the photography.
No, I didn't. Indeed, I didn't start photography from the very beginning of my, professional career. I think I want to mention that I still remember very vividly this conversation walking with my mom towards the metro station from our house. And she would tell me, Nataliya, we decided to transfer you to a school where your brother is studying. And just to tell you that the school where I went to for the primary school was around the corner from the house. It was newly built, nothing remarkable, just a school with potentially French in it as a foreign language. Yeah. And so I was around 10 years old, and my mom was like, we decided to move you to that school. And of course, I have all the friends there. I'm loving my time in school and build my little community. I'm like, no, I don't want it. Why would I go there? She said, well, because, English is a very important language. Going forward, you'll see. And I'm like, I don't like English. I love French. And I really do love French as well. It's funny enough. And I remember how she was giving me all this motivation. Why? And, of course, they transferred me. Back then, we had a little bit less independence. It's not like here, my kids are telling me something. And, of course, we have a discussion. But after all, it's their decision because it's their life. Mm-hmm. Back when, in my childhood, it was because I said so, in a way. But I'm really grateful for that because, indeed, the school where I went to, English was taught from the very first class.
Yeah.
That meaning that I came in, so you would realize, and people speak, read, write English, in English. And I don't even know a single word or a single letter from the alphabet. And plus on top of that, that was still Soviet Union. So I went to a typical Soviet Union school where everything is taught in Russian. That school was one and only in Kiev, in capital of Ukraine, where it was Ukrainian school with a deep studying of English. Mm. So I came to Ukrainian environment, which I knew just a little bit because we spoke Ukrainian with my grandma in the village, and still it's sort of like a mix of Russian and Ukrainian. So all of the subjects are in Ukrainian. I have no idea. It's like I moved to another country, and they all English is a profiling, one of the profiling subjects, and they all speak it and know it. So what happened is that the first year, I feel like I lived in school. Mm. I was day and night there because I was having extra classes with the English teacher, a bit of Ukrainian as well, and I literally didn't see my friends from my old school or from my yard, where we usually would play outside. I was just like completely immersed into it, and it was quite tough, but I'm really grateful because it gave me an amazing head start with everything that I did afterwards.
Sounds fundamental.
Yeah, it was. And then eventually when I was leaving school and there was question, who am I, where I'm going with it, I decided, okay, well, I have a language, that's not what everybody has, so let me exploit that. So I went and got my, at that time, bachelor in linguistics, so I could teach and I could translate and interpret, and that definitely gives me bread because I was already working as a student, and even in high school I was already doing some translations. So I felt like, okay, I can do some. It's a very practical thing as well. While I was doing this side, like student jobs, I met an amazing person. It was a director of an MBA program in Ukraine. And he literally snatched me. He's like, okay, finish up your whatever you're doing there, finish your diploma and come to our program, get an MBA with us. And it was quite exceptional because usually they would take people after masters. Yeah. And I said, but I'm a linguist and you are trying to put me into the program for banking and finance. Mm-hmm. Like, what's happening? And as you said, everything happens for a reason. I met my husband around that time. Yeah. And he's an economist, and he works and studies and teaches in finance. So he's really good in math. And I remember our dating was on the beach of Dnipro River. It was warm time, and he will prepare me for the exam. Oh. He
on the beach.
He will help me with math and help me with the
tests. No crossword puzzle, but mathematics.
Because I really needed help with that, and he was so good in it.
Well, it worked. It
worked fantastically, and I remember I was just laying there looking at him like, wow, he's an amazing man who wants, instead of being romantic and all of it, he wants to teach me math.
Romantic life has maybe multiple angles, so
definitely. For him, it was taking care of somebody that you fell in love with, and that taking care continues till these days, and that's wonderful that we share that with him. But that's what it happened, and then I entered MBA program, as I said, banking and finance. Met a lot of amazing people there with whom I'm still in touch. I shared it with you, and it really, helps you to. Just like be still in touch with that part of your life. And then after that, life turned, and it went not the way I kind of was planning.
Well, it was not the way you expected. So who am I when the path I expected disappears? Here it is, another moment in life. And what then? What was the pivot or if you will? What was the pivot?
The pivot was that the man with whom I fell in love tried the waters of working at a very high level at the Ministry of Economics in Ukraine on the side of a research institution where there was a lot of collaboration, and it was a German research institution. Gosh, I don't remember the name, don't ask me. But anyway, so he was a very driven person at that moment who was saying, I will stay in Ukraine, when 99.9% of his group left to United States for PhD. And he's like, I will stay, I will make it work, I will, be part of this, building it from foundation.
On national level instead of going abroad.
Yeah. He was very patriotic at that moment, and unfortunately it took him just 1 year to realize that, it would be a very, very tough journey. And he's not the one who easily gives up, but he was thinking ahead. He was very realistic, and I really, really happy that he, like we were saying, he looked inside and he asked himself a very fundamental question. Will I be able to realize my talent and my calling here in this environment?
If I stay here.
And we had a lot of kitchen table conversation about it, what do we do, how we go around it, what is his path, what is my path, what are our aspirations, what are our dreams, all of that. So we were quite deep from the very beginning, I would say, of our relationship.
A great example of having meaningful conversation, right?
Yeah.
Figuring it out.
Yeah, and I think in conversations like that, that's where you avoid a really grave, in a way, mutual mistakes, when one in the family is not heard and just goes to support, for example, the path of the other, and then deeply regret it and carry this grudge through the years.
In the undercurrent, but ultimately it comes up.
It comes up, and then it will be an ugly beast that is coming out.
And it's in the way.
Yeah, and it's in the way. So I think it's very important. That's what I was lacking with my parents, for example, to have a very heart-to-heart conversation. They are from that generation where talking about feelings, about your emotions and everything was not something that they grew up with.
No, it wasn't in common.
It was in a way almost like a taboo.
Oh yeah.
So they didn't know how to get in touch with their feelings and emotions, how to talk about them. And so I was that, but why, always like asking. And in reply, there was silence. It was always silence, even on the very direct questions about things which you would think that you will, and it was always silence. And it was very hard for me in that way. So I was very happy that, the person with whom I felt like I want to build my life, he was very open to this type of deep conversations. And he had almost like, he was on a crossroad to go and work for, now it's quite famous in Ukraine, investment banking, or to go and do a PhD in most likely United States, maybe Canada, because that's the best programs are there for economics. And I told him, I said very honestly, I didn't have a plan to go that far away.
Wow.
Yeah, United States was not one of the countries where I thought like, I want to go. Like some people really dream to be there. I was always like, oh. Can I go to France, please? Because I really want to improve my French and go and do things in Europe in this amazing, environment and all of it. So, but I saw how important it is for him, and he started applying. So he was still working. He started applying for different PhD programs, and he was accepted at Texas, Houston, University of Houston. And I vividly remember that was the moment when I was finishing my MBA, and we were sent. That was part of the program that we would go for practical tour to the United States. It would be New York and Chicago. We will visit all of this, big financial institutions and all of it. So we will spend there 2 to 3 weeks or something like that. So I left, and I left at the moment where he was still thinking about everything. Big questions, what to do next, in a way. So I left, we're talking about beginning of 2001, something like this.
9/11.
easy telephone.
Like it was pre 9/11.
Yeah, but also not easy way to communicate. It's not like you can jump on a messenger, or there were no smartphones back then, So it's not like we really, through these weeks that we stayed, just emails, that's pretty much it. That was the quickest way to communicate. So I remember I came back from the study tour, and he met me with a proposal to marry. And I was just like, okay, that's really, in a way, unexpected. And he said, and I really want you to go with me. Because we had these conversations, if he goes, what do I do? Do I stay? He was suggesting maybe I go and set up everything there and then you come. And I was not of the I'm not a believer in a long-term relationship in such a way.
Long distance.
Long distance relationship. Way back then, we were really not as connected. It was letters, emails, and frequent, very, very fast calls, international calls.
No FaceTime and all the technology wasn't at that level.
No. And you think it was really around the corner, but the technology stepped forward so much that it's unbelievable. So I told him, I said, either we go together or because I just don't see it happening. So he had a lot of time to think while I was away, and he came to a realization that he really misses me, cannot be without me, and all of it. So we got married, and literally I finished my MBA, did my diploma. Sort of like it was a presentation, for
dissertation.
Sort of like a dissertation, but and then in 1 month we moved to the United States, and that's where another turn was awaiting me in my journey.
Another turn.
Yeah.
And what was the another turn? Is it a sort of another turn? Do you also see that as a sort of another next level of reinvention?
I would say so, yes, because I didn't expect it would be what it was.
And is the next reinvention, part of the reinvention, is that was it also helping you to become more and more to what you're doing right now? So did it help you, that reinvention?
I think, I really believe that each and everything what happens in our lives has some kind of a intrinsic lesson in it. Good, bad, wonderful, amazing, or really horrific. If we look at it this way, there are people who do not take the lessons out of the things that there are, in my surroundings, people like that as well. And it's sometimes so amazing when from the side you see it, you're like, come on, but it keeps happening to you. Yeah. It should be probably a reason for that.
The universe is trying to tell you something.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Like, come on, just look deeper. Yeah. Like, even I from the outside see it, but Yeah,
but you have to also be ready to receive, right?
Yeah, that's true. So exactly that. Yeah. I think exactly that. Yeah, some people just really need to go through a number of trials before that.
And not some. I believe, and I love to believe that we don't need all the lived experience before we are able to, let's say, make adjustments which we previously weren't able to make. And do we need all the lived experience in order to help us to change, for instance, or to create a habit? Or can we also learn by listening to, for instance, a podcast, or to listen to someone else's a lived experience and think, okay, but how can I apply that to my life and maybe not need that lived experience? I'm still in doubt. A lot of when I ask this question, do we need to have all the lived experience and also the setbacks and the pivotal moments in order to make a transition, or can we also learn that from other people's experiences? I'm still not. I think
it's like everything in life; it's a balance and mix of everything. It's like different methods to to shape your life, and you sort of, one day you feel like, oh, maybe we will have a conversation with you and you would say something which maybe for you even had a slightly different meaning. But for me, on the receiving side, quite of a sudden, it just all clicks and you're like, oh, that was the missing part. Sometimes it's an experience that we live through. But also, in my journey, I had moments when life was pushing me in one direction. And I truly believe it was just a trial to see if I'm really standing firm on my path. just really trying me, and if I will withstand this pressure, then okay, the doors will start opening. So that also happened. If at least that's how I interpret it, this invisible signals of the universe in a way.
But it's good that you see it as a signal, right? As a learning opportunity. What can I discover and what can I learn? And how can I apply it to my next level in life?
Yeah, exactly.
And tell us a little bit more about that pivot. What happened there?
So I was expecting that I'm moving to a happy country with cowboys, cacti, and desert around me. Was quite surprised to see Houston.
Houston, Texas.
Yeah, super modernized and very green city. Huge. It's a fourth in the United States. Really huge. Everything revolves around cars. So you want it or not, but I needed to learn how to drive very quickly because you cannot really walk anywhere. That's the part I really missed in the United States, is not be able to walk where you want to get to. But then the biggest test for me, I think, was that I was really shut down in a way. My visa didn't allow me to work or study. I was on the dependent visa, and those who ever traveled, lived, or tried the United States in terms of immigration know it's a hard place to be. I think I was only allowed to maybe volunteer or something like this. And, when you have a young individual with aspirations to start building her career, to start doing something meaningful in life, it's very painful.
Very frustrating.
It's very frustrating because I'm still young. I'm, maybe like in wisdom of years lived. So I was very angry at some point. And then first I was like very, like I can do it. I will do it. So I started applying and just in hundreds, sending out my resume everywhere. Like to a black hole, literally. That's how
rejection
I saw it.
And rejection.
It was not even rejection. It was
ignored.
Crickets back at you. At least if you would have some feedback, because we don't know who you are, you're just a newcomer, or whatever that is. Just at least tell me something.
Yeah.
But you just
completely lost in the dark.
Yeah, completely lost in the dark. And that was very scary in a way because, my husband was very supportive, but he has a sort of a trajectory. He came and he went to the university. He clear path. As I say, the chair was waiting for him there. My chair was non-existent. So first I played a role of a very good wife. I would cook, I would clean, I will do everything. And then I got so bored. It was very fast. It was within a couple of weeks almost, and I'm applying and nothing back. So I befriended some, people in our complex where we lived, had some interesting, very amazing conversations as well. Built, new friendships and all of it. But then what's next? Like I'm not the type who, we were not in the stage of having kids already or anything like this. And I really wanted to do something. So I was looking, we had a lot of conversations, of course. I befriended some of the professors at the university where he was studying. And I realized that no matter how I maybe don't want to go back and study, there is no other choice. There is no other choice because people literally didn't know where Ukraine is on the map. Sometimes people throw at me, is it in Africa? I kid you not.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah. So it was quite frustrating that, you're like non-existent in many ways. So I realized I need to go back. Yeah, completely unseen. And it was a hard hit on my ego as well,
I can imagine.
Come on, what's going on? So then I started debating, where do I go? What do I do? What kind of studies? And University of Houston has amazing variety of different departments. I tried a little bit the Department of Psychology because I thought maybe industrial organizational psychology would be something that something that was always interesting for me. And as I shared with you earlier, I was sort of like a free listener. You can attend for one semester. I was attending the lectures. I was participating in discussions. I didn't get the grade and I didn't get any paper that I attended it. So that for me was more of a discovery mode. And I'm really, really glad. I suggest to listeners, if you are in the situation, because you never know, go try it, go see what it is before you truly fully commit, because it can be an expensive adventure if you need to pay for your education. But if something like this exists, and people didn't know that you can do it. I was just reading in the library that I can do it, so I just came, I didn't like the way I didn't like the environment, I didn't like the approach, I didn't like the type of people that were there.
But it's also good to figure that out, right?
Absolutely, yeah, I was really happy.
Oh.
I was like, imagine I will be stuck in this for 2 years, Not something that I wanted. And then I discovered by chance, those who grew up and studied in Soviet Union times would remember sociology was very about communism and communistic party, and it was just nothing to do with sociology at all. So it was the most horrific subject at the university that you can only take, and it was required. Mm-hmm. You don't have to go, you cannot go around it. And so when I told my friends from school that I'm going for Department of Sociology, they're like, what? Are you nuts? Because they have this pre-taste of what we studied. I'm like, it's completely different. It's amazing, because it's like psychology for society in a way, It's really amazing. And I loved it there. I was one of the few foreigners. The rest were all Americans. So I was like the favorite pet, in a way. They had gazillions questions to me. And how was that? And how was your childhood? And what did you do? And what you allowed to do, what not allowed to do, So I was like that window to a different world for them. And for me, it was very interesting also to learn from them. So I got a lot of new, amazing friends. Professors were also unbelievable. And I had beautiful 2 years there. Mm-hmm. Finished that. And then my husband was still studying because he had 5-year program. And for him, it was still a way to go. And then I finished. And then the next question was, okay, how do I make it so that I somehow miraculously get the working visa? So I start, looking around. Again, resourcefulness, right? Again, looking for non-standard path. I think that what helps me, because standard paths are very crowded. Mm-hmm. Let's put it this way.
It is.
And I'm not doubting my ability to compete with the crowd, but then why to do what everybody else is doing when we can find another way? So
it's a good question.
So that was always my way of sort of thinking. Let me see if there are any alternative which is underexplored or under sort of, researched, or it exists, I'm quite sure. But maybe people forgot that there is another path. So that's how I did the free listener, It's a sort of like a thing of a past, I think. Maybe later, earlier, people would do that. But they were quite surprised I discovered this method, And then, yes, I got into an internship which led into a contract at a small family-owned, by Israelis, funny enough, marketing program, company, sorry. And there I stayed for a couple of years while my husband was finishing his...
marketing research.
And I was doing marketing research. I learned a lot about company dynamics in this small environment, about family dynamics.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of stuff. I worked with quite, I would say, toxic owner of the company. And that was my repeated lesson, which I learned only later in my life. Yeah.
And what was the lesson that you learned?
The lesson is that I needed to learn how to build my boundaries. I was a yes person. A yes person until the late night person working, and I will give you everything. So I will prove to you that I can do it and I'm the best in a way.
But it's a pattern. It's not an easy lesson to learn. If it's so deep, and if your default mode is yes, and I will do and I can do. So it's easier said than done. What helped you to learn to set boundaries?
It was my toxic boss number 3. Or number 2, I would say. Yeah, number 2 or number 3, I don't remember exactly. Yeah, no, number 3. That's number 3, yes. Where I realized that it's a repeating pattern. And maybe it's not external, but internal. Mm-hmm. And I'm always asking questions first. Is it me? Like, why is it happening? Is it me? And I start analyzing, looking back in a way, like what's happening? Why is it happening? And then when there was another organizational change, when we already moved to Florida and I was working for Office Depot headquarters in Florida, I realized that it's me and the way I'm allowing people to step. And it even happened in the family as well. So there were no boundaries in the family, in a relationship with my mom, my dad, my brother, you know. It was always like open door. And I think it also coming culturally. I'm coming from a very, not individualistic, the opposite, hello? The word escapes my brain.
Very close-knit.
So there is like, in the Western society, there is more individualistic societies, and the hierarchy a little bit is
more
different.
Collective.
Collective, yes, that's the word. Right. Sorry, I forgot.
No problem.
Escaped my brain. From a more collective sort of culture in general, where you're not supposed to have boundaries. What are you talking about? What kind of boundaries? It's all ours.
Ah, yeah.
You are me are you. You know, we're all together in it in a way.
And but ultimately, where are you in the equation?
Exactly, right. I think it's not healthy. It's really not healthy. So for me to realize it and to start building these boundaries was a really, really tough thing.
I can imagine.
But I did it at the expense of toughening the relationship with my last boss. Of course, nobody likes when you get a pushback and respect.
No, and at
respect
first,
my time.
Everything was yes, and I will, and I can do, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, okay,
in a way, quite of a sudden, but gradually, of course. Yeah. And it had a profound effect on my relationship, especially with my mom. And that's the moment where I feel like we had an unfinished conversation with her. And that we can talk maybe a little bit later about it. But, you know, when I start building my boundaries and figuring out what's healthy, what's not healthy for me, it ruffled a lot of feathers around. Because for years I was this, you know, beautiful peacemaker, who was just always in agreement and trying to avoid conflict and settle everybody down and just like ground it. And quite of a sudden, you know, there's a rebellion.
Yeah, well, at least people around you maybe perceived as a rebellion, but you were more choosing for yourself and making decisions for yourself instead of, let people stepping over your boundaries, right?
Yeah.
How did it change the relationship then with your mother? Let's elaborate a little bit on that.
We were always very close. My mom would say that I'm her friend, and I would say my mom is not only my mom but also my friend. We were very close. I was her, in a way, you know, a confidant, if you can say that, you know. And I think there is a border which we crossed in our relationship between mother and daughter in terms of healthiness, that she started telling me things that do not make her happy in the marriage with my father.
Oh yeah.
So she would complain, you see, he's doing this and that and all of these things, and but he's still my father. So I was trying to keep them together, you know, and she would come to me and complain about her relationship with my oldest brother as well. And I would be like her psychologist in a way, you know. I was always very good in listening to people. So, and I'm not blaming her by any, by any means, absolutely not. It was our path. That's how our relationship progressed. And then when I moved with my husband to the Netherlands, and we were having ability to see each other more often physically, and I also got pregnant, and my first son was born. She came to help out, and it exploded. It was horrible. It was horrible because she was stepping all over my boundaries and identity as a new mom. And I know she was doing it because she thought that she's helping, but at the same time, she was ruining my confidence as a new mom. Women, when we give birth, we are super hormonal, you know. It's crazy what's happening with your body. You cannot control it. It's like it's beyond you. That's a scenario that is built for us by the nature. And when you're first time having a child, you have absolutely no clue, because nobody comes to you with a Bible,
with a manual and a Bible, like, and
here you go,
playbook.
Sweetie. You find all the answers here. I wish, right? We wish for it many times with my husband, that we would have the manual like that.
Or you have to create your own manual. And
exactly.
playbook.
Yeah, and make your own mistakes. Make it sometimes hard for yourself and for your children. Yeah. Hopefully they will forgive everything that we do, because it comes from the purest of the heart. But that's what my mom was doing. She thought that she's helping, that she teaches me how to toughen up. And I cannot forget that phrase where she told me, when she came, I delivered. She was not there at the delivery, but I was like maybe 1 week after. And you know how in the Netherlands we immediately were sent home. So I'm home with a rotating kramzorg, which unfortunately was not the same lady, but they keep sending me somebody new, which was not helping at all. And I had a complication. I had a diabetic mastitis, so I was trying to feed my baby, but I got infection. So I was with a 40+ temperature, fever. My breasts were like stones. It was super painful, and he's hungry, and I'm trying, and I'm a good mom. I can do it, you know, and I'm trying to push for like giving him milk and everything. So it was very hard. Like physically, I was all over the place.
Yeah,
and
plus recovering.
And plus recovering from just giving birth altogether, you know. And I remember she came and she said, she took my son, and she said, "Honey, it's not about you anymore. You are here for this guy, and just toughen up, pull yourself together, and stop with this whining type of thing." And my mom is a very sweet person. And what I was expecting, that this understanding creature will come, creature in a good way, don't get me wrong, right? That, like this amazing person, this amazing creature who understands as a woman me now as well. My mom will come support me.
With compassion, with understanding, with empathy.
With hug, and just being there, and just, you know, hug me and say, like, I know.
Instead you got a lecture. And you got a lecture.
And I got a lecture that I'm whining here and all of this, come on. We go through tougher things than this, you know? And
still recovering, and hormonal cocktail running through the whole body and brains.
It was like, Michiel, I cannot... that was a shock. That was a really ultimate shock for me.
But it is interesting. As an introvert, did you implode it or explode it?
I think I imploded first. And then... Don't forget, I have a person next to me who is my husband, and that guy is in a protective mode.
Oh, yeah.
And what happened is, what's very interesting, I think other people who immigrated and who stayed in touch with their families and had children and all of it, they will recognize themselves in this, maybe in some parts of it. But what happens is that when you go away, and you go away not just in your country or hometown, you go away to a different culture, to a different way of living, of looking at things, of behaving. United States for me was like another planet, literally. Because it's just, everything is different. Approach to love relationship, to family, to studies, to choosing career path, to grow in your career, to compete, to be friends, everything. Like it's different. I'm not saying bad or what, it's just different. And when we moved to the Netherlands, it was yet again very different, and you try to kind of figure out what's your place, how you deal with it. Do I absorb it all, or do I keep my identity and just layer it with the, some parts of the local culture? How do you deal with that? So it's a really interesting actually process, I would say. So what happened is, my mom lived her life all the time in one place, around the place where she was born, plus minus. Yes, they traveled, but not as much. They never lived and experienced a different life.
No.
And she remembers me, of course, and maintain in her memory as that person with whom, she lived next to her child, her daughter. And she, of course, we talk. Of course, she knew a lot of details, but it's a whole different story. It's like reading the book, closing it, and
or experiencing.
You close it. You read my email. You close it. You put it back. Yes, you sympathize. It's your child, of course, but you don't live through this experience, so you don't really know what's attached feelings are to it. So there was a cultural clash, very classical, right there in my bedroom.
Can you imagine with your own mother?
With my own mother, yeah. And I remember, so it was all of that, different things happened. Maybe wrong words were said to each other. We hurt each other, of course. My husband was, protecting me and our family and all of it, which probably hurt my mom a lot because she felt like not needed. She thought she will play one role, but her role was needed in a different way. Just being a grandma, be supportive, be there. We didn't want to burn. She was ready to take the whole burden, cook for everybody, wash clothes for everybody, clean for like this very good Ukrainian woman. I can do it all.
But taking over.
Yeah, but for her, the role was just come, enjoy, experience with us, be part of this whole beautiful experience. You don't need to take over, I can still cook and I can clean and we can do it together, so it doesn't need to be so hard. And she prepared for hard, tough, almost like shift. She came for a shift.
She was on a mission.
She was on a mission, definitely. So I think that was clash. And then when she came, we invited her and my mother-in-law for the first year, for the birthday of our son, first year. And I remember it all was like, it was tough because it didn't heal. We didn't have too many conversations. We were still like proving to each other that we know what we're doing. Her with her experience and me with my understanding how I see it needs to be, because this is my child. I know what, plus minus, me and my husband needs to do about it. And I remember very vividly, both of them really pushed, like you were saying, did I explode? Or
implode.
So then I imploded, and then 1 year later I exploded. It was a public appearance. We were in our living room. I vividly remember I put them on the couch, and I sit down on the floor, and I said, you need to understand, ladies, that imagine like you have foreign kids. Me and my husband, we are foreign kids to you. We live in a very different society. We think very differently. We speak different languages. And it doesn't mean that we don't understand each other. But in many ways, we are just very different. It's not the children that flew out of your nest. We're very different. And what we ask from you going forward, it's respect of how we do things. If that respect will not be there, I don't know how we will go around as a family going forward,
Wow.
I think I shocked them because there was no reply. It was a monologue. It was not a dialogue. But I said, like, if you will think about it this way, maybe it will be easier for you. It doesn't mean that we don't honor you, don't love you, or anything like this. But your way is not our way. And we don't want this constant clashing, and please respect how we do things. And I know, of course, we are not doing it right according to your instructions and Bible in your head in a way, how we need to be.
And,
But please respect it. So that helped a little bit that was one of my mission of building my own boundaries. And I continued. So it was very painful in a way, processing, adjusting our relationship with my mom and with my mother-in-law as well, because, in a way, they are almost the same generation and coming from the same upbringing in terms of how things need to be done around the family.
But also, mother-in-law also come from Ukrainian.
Yes. My husband is also from Ukraine. He's from a different city.
Yeah, but also with the same cultural...
so at least we don't have this multi-cultural situation at home.
But the modern view, living abroad, having to adjust to live in a new culture as a couple, changes your perspective on... also, I think it's also a generational difference, right?
Big time.
And I love that you really elaborate on this example, because I'm curious. In hindsight, what would you advise the, let's say, the version of you with the lived experience just gave birth. At the moment you gave birth, what would you advise her? What would you whisper maybe in her ear to yourself with your lived experience, moving forward through, you just gave birth and you didn't have that experience, but now you have. So what would you whisper in her ear as an advice?
Probably to have more conversations with my mom. Because in my family, as I said, like there were no discussion. It will be a quarrel, for example, and then everybody turn around, and it might happen so that for a number of days people don't speak to each other. So there was no really, okay, let's sit down, let's be grown-ups, and let's talk about it. Let's just lay out what you feel, because sometimes we just misperceive things.
Yeah.
You think one person said something meaning this, and in reality, in his or her head was absolutely different intention.
Assumptions.
How many times that happened, right? Or, God forbid, you read an email. You think it's written with such and such emotion, and then in reality it was completely different. But you already start, boiling on top of this, and so that's why from my experience, I always say people don't do serious things via writing.
No.
If it's something relation based,
have a conversation,
physical conversation.
Yes.
If you cannot, at least with a video, but have a conversation when you see each other, so you can read each other's emotions, mimic, micro mimic, body language, all of it. It's very important, because I cannot get into your head, you cannot get into my head, although you did when we just came in. I need to say this, listeners. Somehow Michiel knew that I needed to take
your beautiful
that
equipment.
I will ask him to, if he doesn't mind, for me to take my equipment. I have photo shoot later today, to bring it from my car, because I'm paranoid. Things did happen in the past, and I don't want anybody to steal my livelihood, my computer, my cameras, and everything.
Professional gear.
And before I even opened my mouth, he said all of that. He's like, "You will ask me now if you can take." Yes, of course you can. And I knew you would
take out the stuff and bring it to my place instead of leaving it in the car.
He can read the mind when you're here.
And but it's a beautiful example of and it's a cliche for a reason. But what I'm learning again, that it's crucial to have a sort of radical, honest, meaningful conversations with each other in an earlier stage, and to figure out, what are the things I want to be respected for. It will be different, and the discussion will doesn't necessarily have to be easy, yet it will prevent in the ultimately, and have them regularly, right? Regularly. And it's all about expectations, opinions, and obligations. There's a tension.
Yeah, and also have courage, like I just thinking about it way back, in my life, I would very often will chicken out from such a direct conversation. Maybe because I never had experience. So my husband actually taught me that. He told me in my eyes, he's like, you guys in your family, you just do things very differently. He's like, it's not gonna fly in our family. Like, what? This not talking to each other? Not gonna fly. So he really taught me.
Luckily he did.
Yes. It was very painful. It's painful to have an honest conversation when you are hurt, when you feel resentment or anger, whatever you feel at that moment, but it's very necessary. It is. If you really want to grow up and build strong relationship, doesn't matter, family or friends, co-working, collaboration, with your clients, whatever that is, I think it's very important to have an eye-to-eye conversation. And that helped me many, many times going forward in every spheres that I just named. Yeah. And sometimes I was just like, gosh, my heart is jumping out of my chest, like, oh my God, how will I carry this conversation? And funny enough, very often, another person feels thankful that you initiated it and that you figured it out right then and there before it grew into a huge hurricane or storm which swept both of you off of your feet and brought to some kind of
could
disaster,
have been prevented by just opening up and making things in the undercurrent. At least have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
All right. When there's another reinvention, and that reinvention is a big pivot. It's about the reinvention or coming closer to your. Maybe is it about reinvention and then your interpretation? It's about your inner search, inner call, and I truly believe that all the real answers we're looking for in life are already inside of us, awaiting to be unlocked.
I completely agree with you. When you said that in our conversation, I was just like, "Oh my goodness, this is the person I want to talk to." Definitely.
Okay, blush. No, and so having said that, there was an internal calling inside of you awaiting to be unlocked. Something which travels all the way back to childhood and ultimately helped you, and it bubbled up at some sort of point, so sociology, and made you feel seen. And that's an important theme also, I guess, I think in your life, feeling a sort of invisibility, and then feeling seen in classroom, and people became curious. I saw something happening inside of you. Mm-hmm. You lit up. It's like, and I've been asked all questions, and wow, and how did you do this, and how did you do that? It's making people feel seen. It's about being yourself, feeling seen. And so in some point in your life, the internal calling came up, something from early childhood experiences. What was it?
That was what I do now. That's photography, and now added to it videography, which doesn't go that far from it in a way. It's visual art.
Storytelling, visual art.
Yes, visual storytelling for others and for myself as well. It helps in my business. But funny, like how you said that it's maybe it's not a pivot, but it's a search. I think it is a search, really. I think it's search of something. I think I mentioned that when I was choosing my sort of profession coming out from the high school, I went very practical. What can earn me money? I didn't know a single photographer back then who would be like, for him or her, it will be possible to sustain their life. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even dare to look that way. Then later when we moved, it was not just serious. What do you mean photography? It was just like, that you do something like a hobby. You never do it as a profession. So when we moved from Houston to Florida, I shared it with you, but it was really that internal call when I became more serious about it. I was helping my mom. I was building a website for her business. And I was directing remotely that she goes and takes the photos, not her, but at least asks somebody. And we were organizing these mini shoots for them to show the products and everything, for me to have photos to put on the website. While I was doing that, I was applying for new jobs. Obviously, we just moved and all of it. And I gave myself, I don't remember, like 2 weeks or something like this, a deadline. Seeing if that would be something that will help me to decide. Do I make this turn and go with the calling and passion into photography, or do I continue with the corporate career? And I told myself, okay, if in these 2 weeks I will not find a job that I like to really start, I will just drop everything and I will go into photography. And then in 2 weeks I found a really good position in corporate, and I said, okay, well, that's probably a sign, so I will go with that. But I was continuously, with the camera since childhood. My father it was one of his big passions. he was documenting his life, life around him, his friends' lives, their adventures. He's very passion-driven, very also quite introverted person, but with a lot of hobbies, with a lot of passions and curiosity. That was his thing. He did so many things in life. It's really amazing as hobbies. But photography was one of it. And it was really amazing for me how you can portray something using that little box, that camera, and then play around with the film, and then it comes to life. And you can print it and you can share it. I don't know, it's just that preservation of the past moments. Maybe it's something that I remember in my head. I was thinking to myself, how cool it would be if there will be a video camera rolling all the time when I'm growing up, so I can see myself. How was I when I was a baby, when I was older? Funny enough, father with a passion of photography, I have only few photos of me in the childhood. Only a few photos. And then there were photos from school, from daycare, those standard ones.
Photos, yeah.
But like of me being photographed by him in comparison to my oldest brother, he has albums and albums. And I have few photos, really treasured. And then I start photographing myself, like I was with friends, and friends would take care of me, take photos of me, and I of them, and all of it. So then I sort of have
building up your own library.
Visual history. Right. It's funny. But it was always strongly present. And at some point, I was doing a lot. Like I was doing macro photography just for fun, I loved architectural photography. I loved landscapes. Anything but people. Anything but people. People were scaring me. I didn't know what to do with them, how to approach them. Street photography or something like this, God forbid. It was nothing even in my sort of, radius of what I wanted to touch. It was not
on your lens.
No, it was not on my lens for sure. And then when we decided, and it was another big conversation and big decision with my husband to move to the Netherlands, to change our life yet again, I made a decision at that point. I said that this is it, guys. I know you will be all shocked, but I don't plan to go and find a new job in the Netherlands. I'm fed up with being with a boss on top of me. I want to be a boss of my own life, of my own, what I'm doing, how I'm dealing with my day, how I'm building processes, whatever that is. I want to build my photography business. And my parents said, interesting. And then I learned years later, when my mom passed away, my father was saying, we were so shocked. We didn't know from which side even to look at it. We didn't think that you were serious, first of all. Then when we realized you were serious, we couldn't believe that you are throwing away, that's his words, throwing away all these years and experience that you build up with so much time and effort and energy. And now I'm thinking and sitting, who said I'm throwing it away?
Good question.
It's a great, amazing foundation which were given by my parents in the beginning. Then I took it in my own hands and decided which diplomas, what kind of studies I do. I use it, all of it, every day. My linguistics helps me to communicate with people in different languages. My sociology and my MBA helps me with my business, helps me to... It was the thing I turned to when I came and I started, and I couldn't understand why people do not come. Why? I built my website. I told a couple of people, why people are not coming? What's going on?
And how did it help you then to come to understand why didn't they come?
I almost, I put the hat of sociologist on my head, and I picked up the books, and I started reading History of the Netherlands, looking at the photos of historical photos from archives about the Netherlands, reading books written by expats about the Netherlands, reading books about those who repatriated themselves, those Dutch who went away and then came back, how they were comparing and everything. I needed to understand how the Netherlands is built, what kind of fabric of society is here, what you guys stand for, what are the values, what is important, how history and different kind of events that happened in the past shaped this country, what was here. So for me it was It was really amazing. It was like a little investigation into understanding where did I land.
And understanding humanity, where you are surrounded with.
Who are these people around me? Who are my neighbors? Why are they acting like this and doing this and reacting to different things this way or the other? I was always very curious about other countries. I never would come and say, but we do it this way and you guys doing it all differently. Not because I'm just so ideal or anything like this. I was just really curious and understanding that we cannot do everything the same ways.
No. And in this context, it helps you.
Absolutely, yeah. I had the privilege because my father, everything he had inherited from his father, from my grandpa, was a car. And to have a car in Soviet Union time, it's like, it was a big deal. So he took it and we were traveling all around. So I visited a lot of ex-Soviet Union republics. I've been in Belarus, I've been in Russia, I've been in Caucasian mountains. So I saw I saw lots of, I've been to all the Baltic states. I think we even had some relatives there, So I saw different parts of a huge country. And I was always amazed how different each and every republic is, because we were brainwashed that we're all the same. We have the same songs, the same things, the same feelings, the same everything. Friendship is forever, love is forever, family is supposed to be forever, no matter what, no matter internal abuse or whatever happens. All of this like brainwashing things. But I was amazed how different the nature is. People are, their traditions, their like little things, rituals, like little things of how they do things and behave and work and everything. So for me, it was always this curiosity. So it was the same in the United States. I learned all about Texas. I know what an amazing state and amazing people live there. When we moved to Florida, I also was trying to figure out, it's such a hot melting pot, of all of the different people who end up there. And when we came to the Netherlands, I'm like, I need to figure out what is this country
specific,
about?
Country specific and culture.
Because otherwise I will not be able to really integrate in a meaningful way, be part of this society. And I don't want to be an outsider. I want to be part of this society, even if we don't stay, because we didn't know if we're staying or not.
And now bring it, and if we bring that lens and that enriching lens into the question, why into your website and into your business, how did it help specifically? What did you change in terms of your business with this enriched lens?
What helped is that when I was telling that it was important for me to understand what this society values, I realized that I stepped into we jokingly say with my colleagues, into a luxury industry. Because photography, it's not something where Dutch will invest when they have just a little bit of extra money. No. Dutch will go travel. They will spend time with their friends, going out, concert, festivals, doing hobbies, you name it. And photography will be somewhere there at the end of the list, maybe, if somebody would say that it's a good idea. Even for the wedding, even for the big events, it's not a given that Dutch person will come and hire a photographer or videographer. So I changed my website because at that point it was done in 3 languages. I had it in English. I translated it. I hired a translator because way back then we didn't have that. What we have today, these beautiful things. That's why I always say to my, people who come and ask questions about business, I'm like, you don't have an excuse. Especially to those Ukrainians who came. I'm like, guys, I will be tough on you. You don't have an excuse. There is AI. There is all of these translating tools. You don't have an excuse. Even if you don't speak a word of Dutch or English, you can use that to already start building something. And then you will catch up with your language. So I changed everything, all these 3 languages and everything. I had a fundamental question which was asked by my colleague then. She said, which language do you feel the most comfortable with? And I said, it's English. It's literally English because English was the language with which I was growing up into becoming an adult when I moved from Ukraine. And I can express at that point myself more in English than it was back then it was in Russian. Funny enough, right? So I said English and she said, so don't make your life hard. Just scrap it all. Keep it in English. I'm like, but how? And then she's like, okay, people who are Dutch, who want to come to you, they all speak English. So don't worry. And I'm so thankful to this advice because it's very hard to maintain multi-language versions of your website. And if you know it yourself, it's really hard. And that became also, funny enough, it became almost a natural filter for the right client to come to me. Because I want to have clients who are not just expats and just speak English because it just happens so, but also Dutch, who are more internationally and open-minded, because then we can have cool conversations like you do, right?
And you love to have a conversation before you work with the client, right? So to understand perspective, life view, lived experience, what do they value, and so forth.
It's not like I take photos for passport, you know.
No,
it's not click in, click out. So I really want to connect, and you know, and I told you earlier, I wanted to be a boss of my own business. That means that in a way, I also want to choose with what kind of people I work.
Yeah, well,
and I want the right clients to come.
Via language and the right. So, and this is interesting because you've chosen from everything in photography you could have chosen to narrow it down to that scope and focus. You chose people.
I know, of all the
chose
things.
People. Why so?
Because it was the most challenging and the most interesting.
Okay.
Landscapes are fun if you are okay to wake up early in the morning, catch those rays of light, special lighting, or maybe be there under the rain and right before the rain, you know, those amazing light that sometimes shapes everything around you. And this is it pretty much. I mean, I'm not saying that it's not difficult. It can be. You can go underwater with it and to animal world, whatever. But people, from all of the forms of people, from babies, you know, to the wise and the ones who are already had a whole life, you know, to look back at. It's amazing.
It is.
It's so unique. Each and every story, each and every person is so unique. It's so enriching to be in the presence of another person who shares at least some values. That's why I'm saying that I really want to serve other clients who share something with me, because then it's a really meaningful exchange.
It is.
Who can tell me about their story, of their path, of what they're doing. And sometimes they think, oh, it's not remarkable. But I always find that, you know, that pearl that I highlight, and the person then stops and thinks, I'm like, oh, actually, you're right, you know. So that makes, it's just like highlighting moments for people to really... to let them stop and think and really see themselves.
And make them less invisible.
Less invisible, because I've been in those situations. Maybe some people had it rougher. I think even in your case it would be much rougher. So I'm blessed in a way that it was just, you know, a different degree.
Life is not a comparison, right?
Of course. But
it made an impression on you. So and it's made an impression on you, and by that you sort of flipped it around, and now helping people, helping a lot of amazing people. Your photography is magical, so it's making them feel seen, and highlight also the maybe more invisible parts of someone,
which maybe they are not aware of, or they're hiding, or they thought it's a shameful thing. Can be different cases, you know. And another sort of a mission is especially women. I remember how my mom was taking any kind of self-care as a very egoistic process. It's either, and I couldn't still understand where it's coming from. Probably somewhere, like everything else in our life is coming a little bit from our childhood. Probably somewhere there.
It's true.
Somebody said something, or somebody looked in a particular way, or whatever that is. But I remember vividly, she would say, yes, I really want to, you know, go to a beauty salon and do this and that, or just rest now. But who would do this? This is so selfish when I need to feed you guys and go there and do this and be at this such a meeting, you know, and and all of it. And so I grew up with this feeling that self-care is selfishness. As a woman, like taking care of yourself is a selfish act. You give away yourself till the last drop to everybody else. That was mantra of my mom. And later in life, I realized that that's really, it will end up how it unfortunately ended up in her case, Just one day she disappeared. She was not there anymore. Her heart stopped, just gave up. Couldn't handle it anymore. And it was quite premature, I would say. She was 69. I think these days it's not an age. And it was very abrupt. And it made me, that was one of my biggest lessons of losing one of my parents, 9 years ago. That if I will not take care of myself, it's like in the airplane, I love this example. It's just because it's so true, the mask first on you, then on your kids or passenger next to you. Because if you will not be able, then they are also gone.
May I share my life quote? And if you Google it, you will get right away my name on it.
Tell me.
It's extreme self-care without being selfish.
That's a good one. I like it. Yeah.
Extreme self-care without being selfish. It's easier said than done.
Yes, it is.
But I think it's an important one.
The confirmation of all of it I found in a very known thing for Christians when I was reading Bible. It's in front of your nose all the time, like love the one who is next to you like you would love yourself. Very simple thing. This is the law that
simple,
Jesus Christ gave us, that's the thing, because from there everything goes, everything centers. If you don't love yourself in all the way you are, in your shape, in your form, in your state of mind, in your whatever that is, whatever definition of you is at that moment, how can you love somebody else? It's just so fundamental. It's so deep if you think about it, like really. That's what made me stop and start doing a lot of things differently.
Wow, what a journey, and what a multiple moments of reinvention or coming closer to who you are, who you really are, and the answer, and finding the answer, searching for the answers and finding the answers really from within. And there is one last puzzle, a piece of the puzzle. I think it would be interesting also to unpack that, because photography and now videography, but also there is something around business club creation.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it became really highlighted when a full-scale war erupted in Ukraine in 2022, and a lot of Ukrainians came to the Netherlands, because that's not a destination for immigration routes, I would say, earlier. So, for example, I live in Rotterdam, and I would know the majority of Ukrainians will be counted on one hand way back then. This time around, a lot of people came, and it was mostly women of different age, children, and elderly. And if you said that you know quite a few Ukrainians,
yes,
right? You probably noticed that first of all, we're quite resilient type, and second of all, we don't sit still for a long time. No. We start doing something.
Both are an understatement of the century, because resilience is sort of the middle name of every Ukrainian person I know. And also move forward, keep moving.
Yeah, non-stop, because if you stop, you're dead in a way. You know, like what are you? What are you? You just. It was a beautiful quote. Maybe if I will find it on my phone, I will show it to you later. Said by another photographer. You know, if we stop doing what we are doing, then we're just another cow in a field. You know, just enjoying sun and grazing there, in a way. So I met quite a few young ladies who came in horrific circumstances. Some came with very young children. Some came absolutely alone. Some managed to come with their husbands or partners, but it's only a few. And I felt like I cannot just sit still and not to share what I know to help a super fast adaptation for them. Just to share everything I absorbed and collected through the years, to just give them a crash course on how you can manage here, because they all thought it's just for a couple of weeks, maybe months, and we're out of here. We're coming back to our lives. Everything will be fine. Same with my family members who were in our house. It just will pass. And, I didn't say anything then, but I had a very deep feeling, very sad feeling that that's really for quite some time. So we better start thinking what you guys want to do. So you find your purpose, at least for now, and nobody said you need to stay here forever, but you keep moving. And in the movement, there is life, And so I was asked a lot of questions, and I volunteered myself into this situation of saying, okay, I can share. If you want to start something, let's figure out legally what's allowed, what's not allowed. What do you want to do? So I start giving, all of this. And even before that, people will come to me because I work a lot with small, medium-sized business owners. And in the conversation, we share how I do things. So they share their processes. And we always enrich each other by just showing example of how you do things. So very often people will come just for a chat, and I willingly share it. So, but with the Ukrainian population, so massively now present here, I felt like I was giving a lot of consultations. And I was thinking to myself, I really don't want to go into this coaching, part. And it takes a lot of time. And I don't mind to do it, but it definitely takes a lot of time. Why don't I organize something? So it's once a month. Whoever wants to come, it will be English spoken because, I don't want to limit myself.
No.
I wanted more people to be able to come. I have this beautiful studio in a very reachable place, not a corner, but the center of The Hague, where it's easy to come by transport, because before my studio was in Delft in a little bit more prom zone in a way. And it was much harder. I tried, and only one person showed up. I remember that was right after COVID time. We had fantastic conversation, but I realized it's just logistically, it was not working.
Geographically.
And then it came to me again, and I had such a strong sense that it needs to happen, that I started it a little bit over a year. I started a Profile Studio Business Club. And club is not because you need to be a member, it's a super exclusive, but it's a club where people meet and have fun and exchange and feel very open. I intentionally keep it as a small circle of maximum 8 people. That's how many I physically can fit in, but also what we realized through the meetings and having this experience is that in 2 hours it's a comfortable amount of people that we really have conversations. The ones that stay with you, that where everybody has a chance to say, comment, express themselves, share something, ask for help, whatever that is. And I thought, okay, so how do I center, like you have a theme, I needed to have a theme. I'm like, okay, where am I good at? What people usually ask me questions about. So I thought, okay, I will do it around my expertise of visual storytelling. And from there, it touches all of the parts of business. Branding, marketing, anything you touch, there is always
intersection of
it's intersection of everything.
Yeah.
So that's how it started, and every time people get tickets, seriously, every time they come into the studio, I was like, thank you for your trust.
Beautiful.
Thank you for your trust that you feel like you can learn something from me, and we have this really nice exchange as well.
Where can we find info about this?
You can find information under the profilestudio.nl under events.
We will share it in the show notes.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, of course. I think it's very important.
Under events, I have, I'm not so good yet about putting the ones that are coming out more than 1 month ahead, because I'm trying to be, attached to what's happening in the world and how it's with what is a burning need at the moment. And sometimes I cannot foresee it for half a year ahead because world is so crazy. I myself even don't do plans
it's
more
volatile,
than 4.
Right?
It's very volatile. More than 1 week, I cannot plan anything because I know something can come very easily, and life takes over. But you can definitely see what's happening before and what's the next event coming up.
Nataliya, since we are heading towards the end of our conversation, I have maybe one question.
Tell me.
And that is, in all the pivotal moments and the whole journey wherever you've been through, what is for you sort of the biggest learning you would share also with the audience? What is for you the biggest learning through the whole journey of reinvention, or maybe even finding yourself more and more? What is for you the biggest lesson? Learning, yeah.
There are quite a few, I would say, very honestly. But probably the biggest is, in the most difficult moment, instead of, first of all, get your emotions out. They are usually on the way. And then what helps me is to sit down, find a quiet moment, and just to reflect. Really analyze. You say that we have a lot of answers within us. I think it's true. I think we also have answers in what happened in the past.
Mm-hmm.
The past doesn't need to shape and identify us, but it's definitely the huge database of so many things that you can definitely benefit from. I think that's the thing that kind of helped me too. Sometimes we forget. Our memory works in a funny way. If it was quite traumatic experience, we shut it down.
Mm-hmm.
That's our survival mechanism. But sometimes we need to get to that painful moment to figure out, so what was the reaction, how your body felt, or what was next, what drove to, because all of these things, they're all connected. That's how I see it, and these reflections, they really help to understand where you are today and where you move forward. I would say that.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Nataliya.
I'm amazed how you can uplift a person in front of you.
Thank you very much for your openness, for sharing the resilience, the resourcefulness, figuring it out along the way. Also the importance of having a good, healthy relationship with your husband, who you can have a meaningful, radical, honest conversation instead of, letting it slip away to the undercurrent, but it's still somewhere lingering, and all of a sudden it piles up and it turns a person who is normally introvert from implosion to explosion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michiel. It was amazing journey together with you.
Thank you. Thank you for spending this time with us. Perhaps something from this conversation is still settling. A perspective, a feeling, or a question that arrived without asking permission. That's often how meaningful change begins. Stories have a way of traveling beyond the moment they are told, finding their way into conversations, decisions, and chapters still unfolding. If someone comes to mind whose path feels emotion, pass this episode on. And if the desire for more clarity, direction, and alignment has been quietly growing in the background, there's a space called the Clarity Intensified track, an open door for those moments when reflection starts asking to become movement. Until next time, take this with you gently and see what stays with you.